All right, joining me once again here on the Matthew Filipowicz Show is my good buddy Rick Perlstein. Rick is, of course, a writer, a historian, a New York Times best-selling author. He's the author of Before the Storm and Nixon Land. He is a writer for The Nation magazine, which you can find at thenation.com. You can also follow him on Twitter at Rick Perlstein. Rick, thank you so much for being on the show again.
Always a pleasure, my brother.
All right, so Rick, we have some exciting news in the Perlstein front. Part 3 of the trilogy has a release date and a title. The book on Reagan, the title is The Invisible Bridge, The Fall of Nixon and the Rise of Reagan. It's coming out in August of this year. The press release is going out. So I guess let's just start out immediately. Just tell us the kind of overall picture of the book.
Well, the even better news is it's not just a trilogy. It's going to be a tetralogy.
Ooh, tetralogy.
So I kind of ran out of pages when I got to 1976, so now I'm going to do another book that's going to go to 1980. But that's the basic lay of the land. The book is going to pick up the narrative where my last one, Nixon Land, ended off in the beginning of 1973 with Nixon's re-inauguration after winning this huge landslide, and he's kind of looking to head towards a very exciting second term. He's actually trying to pass this very conservative budget that of the sort we'd later associate with Ronald Reagan. And he's good to go. And then suddenly people start caring about Watergate. And
imagine that.
Well, they didn't much care during the 1972 election. And this really astonishing television show begins airing every day, which is the Senate Urban Committee hearings on Watergate, which just rivets the nation. And suddenly Americans are watching TV and seeing the men and women, mostly men, of course, that they thought they trusted, revealing themselves to be little better than mafia dons. And, of course, I take the story through his resignation, and then Gerald Ford's ascension. And he says, of course, our long national nightmare is over. And everyone's like, we got this cuddly, friendly, wonderful guy running the country and something like Nixon. And then suddenly everyone learns that the CIA has been busy assassinating people when the Church Committee comes out. And then after that, Vietnam falls, and South Vietnam falls, and people see America humiliated. Basically, the 58,000 lives and billions of dollars in treasure that we've expended propping up this government in South Vietnam, it collapses like a house of cards. And what I narrate is kind of a noble thing happening as a result of all these traumas, which is Americans really beginning to think of their country for the first time as in a mature way. You know, it's just one more nation among others, one that faces the same kind of troubles and the same kind of challenges, and not as kind of God's chosen nation. And there's a lot of reform energy that kind of comes out of that trauma. And basically what the book narrates is Ronald Reagan just completely letting the air out of that by waving his hand and smiling and telling everyone everything is going to be all right, and running for president in 1976 against the incumbent Gerald Ford and almost winning. Mm-hmm. The last line of the book, Matt, is...
last line, all right. What is it?
Spoiler alert. Elizabeth Drew of The New Yorker writing after the 1976 convention, which he barely lost to Gerald Ford, that this was the end of Ronald Reagan's political career.
Man, if only that was true.
Yeah, I have to write a note of apology to Elizabeth Drew, who is an outstanding reporter and whose work I completely relied on, and I make her look like an ass. But anyway, whatever. I'm willing to do that for the sake of my readers.
Yeah. Well, but initially, I remember when we talked about this book before, I mean, it really wasn't, I thought the original thing was the idea for this book was supposed to end with him being elected, with the election of Reagan, but it's actually now, you've actually had so much material that you're splitting it into kind of part of a two-part thing here then, essentially.
Yeah, and it's, like all my books, it's still very long. It really, just kind of telling this blow by blow of what it was like for the American people to experience this trauma of Watergate has really never been done before. So that was, turned out to be really exciting. And the best compliment I've gotten so far from one of my friends who read the manuscript was, well, this book's a lot shorter than your other ones, isn't it? And, it isn't. So I guess people are enjoying themselves reading it.